when you hear somebody say something like, I lost all my money in the stock market crash, if they ever told you they lost it all in the S&P 500, they are lying to you. Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. And if this is your first time here, hello, welcome. This is Essential Patience and I Am Patience. And on this channel, we have conversations about societal impacts on our lives and our finances and how we can take back that power and make more intentional financial and life decisions. So if that sounds good to you, be sure to like this video, subscribe to my channel, and ring the notification bell so you do not miss out on any of my future videos. But let's go straight into today's video, how to start investing in your teen years. Starting to invest at any age can seem scary, uncertain, but especially in your teen years. But that's also one of the best times to start investing. If your parents did not start investing for you or have a custodial account for you, which most people do not have, once you become 18 years old and start making your own decisions in certain regards, whether you're living at home or living on your own, there's some things that you can do to help start your investment journey. If you are under 18 and you have a good relationship with your parents and maybe you want to start immediately, there's a custodial account that they can open for you. I'll be focusing more on starting at 18 years. If you are under 18, your parents will have to get involved and become the custodians of your accounts. This will certainly include any type of checking account, savings accounts, and definitely like a Roth IRA. But no matter your age, I think you can find some valuable things in this video. If you're not yet 18 and it's something that you want to do in the future, there are many things that you can start now, and then by the time you're 18, you open the accounts that I'll be talking about. But then if you're above the age of 18, a lot of these steps will be similar because it doesn't change that much from age to age. So there's so much you can still get from this video. And these are going to be 10 steps. They are in order. You don't have to do everything in order, but I think that when you follow this order, it would help you to set your foundation for financial literacy and for a great financial life. So the first step is getting a job. You can do this at any age, any legal age. But the reason why it's important is that the money has to come from somewhere. Unfortunately, money does not fall from the sky, so you have to earn it. And especially in the game of investments, you need taxable income. So get a job, whether you are 15, 16, 17. You may not be ready to immediately start investing, but you can start with a job. You can start building up your sources of income for when you are ready to do so. I had my first job at about 15 years old, and it was a great source of building my work ethic, networking, and certainly finding a source of income as I was preparing to build my financial future. Get in there, get a job. If you don't like the one that you have, switch jobs. This is at an age where you can have a gaps in your resume. It doesn't matter, but it's also really important that you start getting these work experiences early on because they would help you once you get into college, or if you don't go to college, having a consistent work history. If you don't have any job, you have no idea how to get a job, start by talking to your parents or your guardians, how they can help you. You might need a work permit. I had to get one when I was 15 years old. And I actually got my internship through a local program for my county, where I think if you're between the ages of 15 and 18 and you're in high school and you wanted a summer job, you can enroll, take classes, you have to do assignments. That was not a fun part. So do that research. I think those jobs also offer something that sometimes if you're just doing retail or sales, while those are really good for customer experience, me being in an internship allowed me to have that office experience. That was what I was going for in my future. Now I work in an office. I know a lot of things about office life, networking, and how to connect with people. Whatever your source of income is, get one, because that will be important for your next steps. And step number 2 is to start by building an emergency fund. Even if you have no expenses right now, it's still important to do so. At least have $1,000 saved up or have some cushion if you are planning to invest in the future. And the reason is that you don't want to invest all of your money and something comes up and then you have to withdraw. So even if you have no expenses at all, you live with your parents, you don't buy food, they provide everything for you, still have something saved up so that in case something comes up, you don't have to tap into your investments, which will be coming up. When I started working, I didn't have the opportunity to invest because a lot of my money was going towards things for my school. I had to pay for my college applications, SAT tests, personal stuff, and I was also taking dual women classes, and I had to pay for the books. So those expenses added up quickly, and because I was only working in the summer at that time, my money mostly went towards my academics and personal self-maintenance. I earned about $2,000 that summer, but I still was able to stretch that money for a year, and I'm really proud of that. For the first few years of having a job and saving money, a lot of my money did not go towards investing. I started investing at 20 years old. I'll talk about that in the investment portion because I needed that money immediately. And if that's your situation, do want to start building those muscles, those financial muscles of making those financial decisions for the future, because they'll come in handy. And if you do have expenses, build a 3 to 6 months emergency fund. I typically do 6 months. And if you're a type of person that you still live at home, a lot of expenses are provided by your parents, but you will be contributing to paying for college, going towards your transportation, or some expenses that are coming up. Save up for those things as well. And let's say you was trying to save up for a car. That is something else that you can save up for, not an investment account, but probably in a high yield savings account. You can open that and put any money that you'll be using in the future into that account to separate it from your checking and having daily access to it, if that's an issue for you. If it's not, you can still open a savings account that is connected to your checking account. And the third step is to pay off any debt if you have them. At that age, you may have a car debt if your parents don't buy a car outright, but let's say you end up buying a car. There's certainly some 18, 19-year-olds and maybe even younger who are paying their own car note. I didn't have a car until I was 22 years old, so I didn't have to deal with that. I did pay for my own transportation on the bus, but I didn't have a car note. But if you have car debt or any type of debt, you should pay it off. I don't know how much debt you can accumulate before the age of 20, but I've heard people with thousands, tens of thousands of dollars with debt before the age of 20. And if you have some debt, be sure to pay it off. Or maybe you took out debt for a community college, small loan for an associate's degree. Be sure to pay that off as well. And that would certainly apply to any age that you are. Before you really start digging deep into investment, be sure to always pay off your debt, especially your high interest loans and credit cards. If it's a mortgage, for example, you don't have to pay it off before investing, but it's really hard to justify putting money into the market for an 8 to 12% return when your credit card is piling up on 29% APY, or you have a personal loan for 20% or 15%, or a car loan that is 12%. You're losing money by putting it in the market, at least the value, because you're earning more in interest that you have to pay somebody else, a lender, versus what you're getting in the market. But let's get into the fun stuff that you came here for, because the next step is to research investment vehicles that are good for you. If you have a job, you might be able to open a 401k, but at that age, would you want to? If it's not a job you're going to be at a long time, I would say probably you may want to skip out on that, especially if they don't offer you an employer match, if you're not a full-time worker. But if they do offer employer match, and even if you're not going to be there for a long time, take it, because that money will go really far in the future. If they're matching 3%, put 3% in there. If they're matching 2%, put 2% in there. A little goes a long way in the future, especially at your age. You can also open a Roth IRA. I opened my Roth IRA at 20 years old to start saving for my retirement. And it was really good because the jobs and internships I was doing at the time were typically temporary. I was doing it for like a semester, summer, spring, fall, maybe 1 year max, and didn't offer any type of employee benefits for 401k. So Roth IRA was a good place that I could put my after-tax money. Well, you can do a taxable brokerage account if you're going to leave the money in there but take it out in the next like 5 to 10 years. That might be a good option for you as well. But if you're looking for more tax advantaged accounts, you want to start researching those. And HSA will probably also not be a good option at this point, because if you're under your parents' insurance, it's not worth paying your own insurance just to have access to an HSA. And I didn't have my own HSA till I was 21 years old, and I had my own health insurance plan. It is really important to do this research if you want to build a strong financial foundation. Do not skip out on these steps. What you research now, what you start learning, you'll start building on, and it will go a long way. What will also go a long way is start researching investment types. Don't just get your investment advice from Instagrammers, TikTokers, and even YouTubers. I'm here telling you about different things, but do your own research. Go to reputable sources. Even on YouTube, you can find some great advice. Start doing your research as to what you can put your money in. Do research on the S&P 500, which if you don't know are the top 500 companies in the United States at any given time, meaning a company can move into the S&P 500 and companies can drop down from the S&P 500 based on their performance. It's an index that tracks it, and essentially you get the average of all those performance. So instead of buying those 500 companies individually, you will be buying into all of them based on buying into the S&P 500. Another good thing about the S&P 500 and buying into it is that they are proportioned out in a certain way. So it's not all 1-to-1 ratio. It's dominated by typically like 10 companies that are making up well over 50%, and then the others will make up another 50%. So it's not even, but it's proportionate based on performance. It is hard to lose money in the S&P 500. When you hear somebody say something like, I lost all my money in the stock market crash of like 2008, 2020, it doesn't matter what you're saying. If they ever told you they lost it all in the S&P 500, they are lying to you. It is so hard to lose all of your money in the stock market based on index funds. If you invest all your money into private companies and you put money into individual stocks, that is how it's possible to lose all of your money. For example, let's say this company called Greenwood and you put all of your money for years and years and years into it. So you're just buying stocks years after years after years for 20 years. The stock market crashed and they file for bankruptcy. They become worthless. But you have already invested $200,000 over a 10-year period. Too bad. You lost all of your money. But if you do the index fund, the stock market crash of like 2008 happens again, where it was like a bear market. It dropped over 40%. Yeah, if you have $100,000 invested, it will dip down to $60,000. But if you leave it there and keep it invested, since 2008, everything people lost, as long as they kept it there, has more than doubled, tripled in the economy we're in today. Beyond that, if the S&P 500 goes to $0, forget your money, because it means the US economy is nothing, okay? Absolutely nothing. And that would be where the problem lies. You will have bigger problems than your investment. So if you're the type of person who takes more of the safe routes, index funds are great for you. And the S&P 500 is one of the safest index funds. People do not lose money as long as they keep it there and they don't sell out when something quickly happens, and they keep invested years after years after years. You will be more likely than not okay. Nobody has lost everything in the S&P 500. You can't convince me that. There is no case where anybody has lost all their money in the S&P 500. But beyond that, and that tangent I went on, I hope that gave you some level of comfort. There's a safer way to invest if you're risk adverse. But there are other index funds as well. The Total Market Index Fund contains over 2,000 companies. You have sustainability index funds, real estate index funds. You will also have a whole list of index funds that you can research and decide which is best for you. If you do choose individual stocks route, I would say definitely be careful. I personally would not put any type of individual stocks into my 401k or Roth IRA or HSA. I do have a few single stocks outside of my portfolio, and it makes up a very small percentage. But I personally do not like to put all my eggs into one basket, because individual companies have failed time to time. Big companies going down to zero is really hard, but sometimes it's happened. All 500 top companies in the United States going down, they'll be replaced by another top 500 companies, which makes index funds much safer. Once you do your research, open an account. I opened my first account, I think I was almost 20. I was 20 years old. This was during 2020, and I had been researching. The first account I opened was a taxable brokerage account. I hadn't fully learned about the Roth IRA yet. I was learning, but I didn't know if I qualified. So I opened a taxable brokerage account where I invested like my first $100. It was an amazing step, and the step that really got me into learning more and more to build up my finances to where I am today. And I'm still learning and still building. Take that step and open an account. With Fidelity, which is the company I opened it with, you can open it with $0. I invested little by little till I could invest more. But there's so many other companies that you can open your account with, and hopefully once you do your research, you will find a way you can open it. Some examples is, of course, Fidelity, Vanguard. I've heard great things about. They have great reputation. Charles Schwab's as well. I've also used Webull before, as well as Public. But there are a whole list of financial institutions that you can research and choose to open an account with. The next thing is that once you're ready to start investing for retirement, open your Roth IRA and start investing and maxing out as soon as you can. Putting money into your Roth IRA for retirement is a great thing because you're paying the taxes now, and if you're in your teenage years, you're probably paying very low taxes, and that's why you get the tax advantage versus a traditional 401k. But if you did do a 401k, more likely now I would say do a Roth 401k at that point because you're in a lower tax bracket, and as you grow and hopefully your career grows, you'll be in a higher tax bracket. I certainly sometimes miss the days of paying zero federal taxes, but I am grateful for where I am, and thank God I can pay these taxes now because it means I'm making more. If you're there now and that's your situation, be sure to take advantage of your Roth IRA. It is so great for you to be doing that right now. For this year, the maximum is $7,000. When I opened my first, that year I couldn't max it out. I put in $2,000 for the 2020 tax year. The maximum at that time was $6,000. But the next summer I worked, didn't want to spend any money, so I was able to max my Roth IRA, which at that time for 2021 tax year was also $6,000. The year after, I think it became $6,500. And then now it's $7,000 for about $583 per month. You can max out your Roth IRA as well. January starts the new tax year, but that tax year does not end until the next April. So if you're just starting right now, you still have time up to next April 15th, to max out your 401k for the 2024 tax year. And then you can start your 2025 tax year. I certainly did that this year. It wasn't until April that I maxed out my 2023 Roth IRA. But it was something that I did because mostly last year I was paying off my car. And now I'm working on contributing to my Roth IRA for the 2024 tax year. I hope to max out this year. But just in case I don't, I know I have till April of 2025 to do so. And if you have money you're going to use for anything beyond that, or you're not ready to save for retirement because you were trying to save for a car, maybe save for a down payment on a house, something that will be coming up soon, you can open your own taxable brokerage account and invest money there. When I am trying to save money that is not for retirement, I don't put in my Roth IRA, I don't put in my 401k, I don't put in my HSA. Those are towards retirement, and the HSA towards my health. I have to use it on medical expenses or else I have to pay the taxes. If you do want to save for something else, be sure to put it in a taxable brokerage account. The first account I opened was a taxable brokerage account, which means that it's not tax advantage. I don't get any type of pre-tax or post-tax benefits. But if I wanted to pull that money out today, I'll just pay the taxes and I can use that money for whatever I want. There's no penalty for early withdrawal. And that's the appeal of a taxable brokerage account. And anywhere that you can open a Roth IRA, more likely than not, you can also open this taxable brokerage account. You can put all of your accounts into one place, and then whatever your job chooses for your 401k, you can use that for your 401k and your HSA. But for me, when I like a brokerage account, I like to keep a lot of my accounts there so it's not all over the place. And the next thing you want to do is continue learning and growing in your account. When you start, that's just the start. People say something like the best time to have planted a tree was like 30 years ago. The next best time is now. Starting is really important, but once you start, continue the momentum. Now I've been investing for 4 years, just over 4 years. It is crazy how much I've learned, new techniques that I've learned, accounts that I've opened since then. Because I started with a taxable brokerage account and invested $100. And then a few months later, I agreed to opening my first Roth IRA that I couldn't even max out. So later that year, max out my Roth IRA. A year later, after I graduated college, I opened my 401k and my HSA. And then I started really contributing, maxing out my HSA, maxing out my Roth IRA, and contributing to my 401k, at least to my employer match. This is really an important way to start learning and growing in your knowledge and in your finances. Start somewhere. If you are interested, keep in close contact with Financial Conversations. I love to listen to Financial Conversations. That's why I'm here making this video. But beyond this, I listen to other videos of other people. I read financial journals. I read about financial trends, and I am consistent day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year. Continue learning. There's always something to learn, and that does not mean panic sell. Once you keep learning, you will know how to become in situations where the market goes down, the market goes up. You will learn to be consistent in your strategies, find better strategies, maybe change different funds that you have. You will learn the importance of consistency and dollar cost averaging, which means that buying in, whether it's high or low, over and over again. Investments can be boring. That typically means it's a better investment than the ones that you're panic selling and it feels like you're gambling. And the last thing I want to leave you with is an example that would hopefully motivate you about the importance of consistency and starting early. Because if I could go back and start at 18 years old, I might have found different ways to even increase my income. I know I was busy. I was a full-time student, working part-time when I could. But when I became excited about investing, I was literally taking on multiple jobs, even in school, to make sure that I could afford to invest my money. And I think I'd have definitely been more diligent. Starting at 20 was not bad, but you can start earlier. You can start now. Let's take examples as to what consistency looks like, what years of investment look like. So in this example, you're 18 years old, you just watched this video, you are excited to start investing. And so you open your Roth IRA and you want to start maxing out at $7,000 a year. Let's keep this $7,000 consistent for the rest of the years. We're not adjusting for any type of increase because we're not speculating about what it could increase to in the future. Even though we do know, historically speaking, and over the past 20, 30 years, it has increased from like $2,000 to what it is today. But we're just going to keep that $7,000, which breaks down to an average of about $583 per month. And you're investing this from age 18 to 62 years old when you want to retire. Let's see how different returns can affect you and what consistency would yield you at 62 years old. So let's say you're investing all these years and you get a very average return of 8%. Which is very easy to get in the market. Index funds will give you this easily. After 44 years of investing at 62 years old, when you're ready to retire, you will have a total of $2,587,512.21 just by contributing less than $600 every single month for 44 years. And by the way, your total contributions would have been $307,824. That is all you contributed, and yet you made a profit of over $2 million of investments that will not be taxed when you withdraw that money, meaning you can keep it all. You don't have to pay any taxes on that money. At 9%, you will have $3,505,524.37. Again, same contribution of $300,000, and that's what you have at 9%. And if you're able to get 10% in the market, your returns will be $4,701,543.30 at 10% year after year average. At 11%, $6,519,484.13. And at 12%, you will have a total of $8,934,582.63. And that is for low-cost index funds that you can get for less than 0.05%. And you will have these as your returns. And so it's really important to do your research, but also just be consistent investing. And some people would question as to what this money would be worth in 44 years. And you do have the right to question that. But even if we take the lowest amount at 8%, and that is the $2.5 million, after 44 years, $2.5 million will still be worth over $1 million of what it is today. And that is huge for you, because the average American today who is in the age of retirement does not even have $500,000 in retirement. We may not have Social Security. So it is important that we take this into consideration as we take a hold of our future and what we decide our future will be. And if this does not sound like enough money for you, invest more. This is $583 starting at 18 years old. And in the future, get a house, pay it off. As long as you take a paid for house and a paid for car, and have known that $2.5 million in the future in 44 years will probably still be more than enough to give you a good retirement. Would you rather have $2.5 million 44 years from now? Or would you rather have zero? I choose that $2.5 million. And that's why I started when I could. I could have started at 18, but I started at 20. You may not have been able to start at 20, but you can start at 25. You can start at 30. You can start at 45. The sooner you start right now, the less you will have to invest to make up for that $2.5 million. So start now. Go strong and be consistent. And with that, I'm bringing this video to an end. Thank you all so much for listening to this video. Hopefully you got some good stuff. I'm really passionate about this topic and ensuring that young people consider retirement. If you've been watching my videos on people who are 73 years old, 86 years old, who did not save for retirement, because I'm sure that probably in their early years, they thought if I was only saving $50 a month, what would that be like in the future for me? That's not going to be enough to retire. But let me tell you something about that 86 years old lady. Had she saved just $50 per month from ages 20 to 86 years old, today should have had over $1.2 million. Had she just saved $50 per month, can you see the difference on how that money adds up? And she would have probably been retired early. And that is at 8%. She could have probably done even more. Let's say she was averaging 10%, and all she could save was $75 from ages 20 to age 60. She would have still had over $1 million. And knowing that she had to pay for a house, $75 per month adding up to over $1 million would have been great for her to not be in the situation that she is in today, especially since she's receiving about $1,200 in Social Security that we may not have in the future. Do not give up. It doesn't matter if it's $50. It doesn't matter if it's $100. It doesn't matter if you can't max out your Roth IRA. Contributing just a little bit that you have at a time will add up to way more in the future. So let me know in the comment section, what age did you start investing, or at what age do you plan to start investing as you have learned this information? And also let me know any of your financial philosophies that has really helped you to have a consistent mind in your investments. And if you learned something from this video, consider giving it a like. Also be sure to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and ring the notification bell so you do not miss out on any of my future videos, because the conversation is always great. Thank you all so much again, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.